Hey guys, it is John C. Morley here, Serial Entrepreneur, your podcast host and podcast coach. It's great to be with you tonight, which is October 31st. Happy Halloween to everyone, 2023. That means tomorrow is November 1st, everyone. Can you believe that? I can. All right. So before we get started, there's a QR code at the top right-hand corner of the screen. And if you're new here, why not launch your camera app? I'll show you how to do that. It's really easy. Just go to your phone, you just type CAM or just look for the camera app, point over the QR code like so, touch the yellow lips, and you'll get my link tree just as easy as that. If you're not watching me, but you're listening only like on the audio podcast, well, then go to believemeachieve.com for more of my amazing, inspiring creations. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, please do check out the brand new area that we've added just for you guys. It's the very top. And it actually has a great title. It says Tools for Podcasts, Hosts, and Guests. There's lots of great stuff on there that you can use with some great discounts that I think you guys will really appreciate. So I do want to thank you for being here, whether you're here at 10 to 11 at night, 10 to 11 in the morning, 3 a.m., 3 p.m., 6 a.m., 6 p.m., potato. Thank you so much for being here. I'm very grateful that you are here with me right now. And now to let you guys know what I do, I'm a serial entrepreneur. And of course, you know that I am a podcast host and podcast coach and specializing in helping businesses to tell a story that leads to them growing and being more scalable and profitable. Now, I typically work with companies that bring in 10 million or more. And they either know their story or they want me to find their story or write their story. And I'm very good at doing that. So definitely love it. And I'm also helping lots of podcasters, whether they have a podcast, they want to get started, definitely reach out. We can help you there or even run your podcast for you if you don't have the time to do it. So definitely some great stuff. So let's get into our master topic, shall we, everyone? Our master topic is how and why taking someone's temperature leads to success. That's a pretty interesting thing we're talking about this week. I mean, it's really interesting. And I'll tell you that, when we think about success, I think it's important to understand that people don't always get things, right? They don't always get things. And the reason I say this to you is because, we have to understand I will tell you that it's really amazing that, people can get stuck, I guess, in this world. And you might be saying to me, hey, John, how does all this work? And it works pretty well because, people have to understand, right? They have to understand what it is. And that's a very important thing. I mean, very important thing. All right. You might be saying, John, how or why does this mean something? And I think it comes down to people just not getting things sometimes, right? It just says people are not getting things sometimes. Think about that for me. Think about that for a minute. I know you're probably telling me that things are a little bit nuts. And I know that might be, I don't know, that might be something that you probably don't know because you're saying, hey, John, this doesn't make a lot of sense. But, it really does make sense. It's just that it's how can I say this to you guys? It's how we actually decide to do things. All right. And when I say decide to do things, it's about you. It's about how you think, what you're doing. Okay. And I think that's a pretty interesting thing because, we all want to be great, we all want to be good, but I can tell you that it's pretty interesting, right? It's pretty interesting. Um, but people get confused. Do they get confused? People get confused because they don't necessarily know what's going on. And they get this confusion for one main reason. And it's because they don't understand that there's something called cold, there's something called warm, and there's something called hot. Now, that sounds like an oxymoron, but it really isn't. When we talk about cold, that's when somebody has like little or no interest. Little or no interest. Um, and I'll tell you that cold is something a lot of people misinterpret. They misinterpret this. And so, as we said, if we don't ask the right questions and somebody's cold, then we're not going anywhere. Have you ever heard of something called the polite exit? What is the polite exit? So, the polite exit is a way to leave the room and save face. Now, that might sound like really, really crazy things, but really, it's a polite way to decline. Now, I know we're talking about sales, but we could be talking about relationships. Everyone has the ability to agree to disagree. Okay. I know that things are a little crazy, right? I know this might sound a little nuts. Okay. And I know you're probably saying, hey, like, what's going on? Um, it has to do with people's understanding. And so when we realize that somebody is cold, okay, that makes a difference. That makes a difference. I will tell you that you might be on the fence about some things, but you have the right to say no. We've said this before. You have the right to say no. And when we realize that something is cold, we don't take somebody's temperature and we find out, oh my gosh, they're not even interested in ballet. They're not even interested in music, or they're not even interested in the car that I thought they were going to buy. Like, because we never communicated, we make it all about ourselves. And I want to draw back to Dale Carnegie. So Dale Carnegie said something very, very interesting. And that is that we have to do two things. One, get to know people's names and say them properly and correctly. And the second thing we need to do is be able to handle the fact that we're genuinely interested in the other person. Okay? Genuinely interested in the other person. That is really, really, really key. So these are very, very important things. And I will tell you that you have to understand this. You have to understand this, because when you understand this and you understand that people's temperature will start out cold, okay? It will start out cold, but it can get warm. Now, I want to talk about something else. It's called the sales doorknob approach. Well, they call it the doorknob close, actually. So it's also called the reverse close, and it works like this. So pretty much the person said they know they're not going to buy, yada, yada. But then you're like, I want to thank you, Mr. Prospect. Thank you so much for your time. And starting to pack everything up. I understand that we're not a good fit, and I appreciate that, and pack everything all up. Got the suitcase, hand on the door. Mr. Prospect, I just had one question for you. What was it that you wanted to hear that would have made you buy today? What was it that, would have pushed you forward? He goes, well, John, it was the fact that you put the briefcase back, open it back up. Now you have that one point, and bam, you just closed the sale. But you didn't do it in a disrespectful way. You did it to honor their value. I think that's the most important thing that I can say to you, is the doorknob close has been around for, years. It's been around for years. So I will tell you that you need to embrace cold, because if we embrace cold, then we can move further to warm, and then we can move to hot. And we're going to talk a lot more about that. Remember, we talked about yesterday, we talked about how does this sound so far? Does this make sense to you? Is this what you're looking for? What do you think? How close do you feel this comes to meeting your needs? How far apart are we? Those kinds of things. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you know who I am. I'm John C. Morley. I'm a serial entrepreneur. It is always this amazing privilege and pleasure to be with you every single time that I cast. And I want to let you know that I've got some amazing information out for you at believemeachieve.com. We had a great Halloween article. We have another great article coming out very soon. And I think when we think about people and we try to classify them as being cold, warm, or hot, what that really relates to is how much of a difference there is. And are we on frequency with that person? Are we jiving with them? Are we connecting with them? Or are we way out here and they're way over here? And that might sound nuts too, but it is absolutely the truth. Absolutely the truth. That's the most important thing. All right? Very, very important. And I know, ladies and gentlemen, as you think about this, it'll matter to you. But knowing that something is cold is something very, very important. Because cold can be warmed up, right? We know that a cold kettle can get warm and then it can get very hot. We also know that when something gets warm, it could cool off very easy. When it gets very hot or boiling, can also cool off. But the thing is, people have to be on board with what it is the other person wants, not what you want. Because if it's what you want, then you're just going to drive that person away and they're going to become bored listening to you. Yeah, I know. And so what I want to leave you with tonight is, obviously we talked about the doorknob close and we talked about a few other things. And I think that the doorknob close is probably a very, very important thing. All right. It is a very, 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 very important thing. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. I am a podcast host and, of course, your podcast coach. And not only that, ladies and gentlemen, do you know that being a podcast host and podcast coach and specialist in helping businesses tell a story that leads to them growing and being more scalable and profitable? Now, I typically work with companies that bring in 10 million or more. And I love helping them find out what their story is, cultivating it, and getting it out to other people so they can get curious about it, ask questions, and yes, potentially become business connections for them. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your Halloween, as I know it's going to close in just about 57 minutes. I hope it was a safe, a fun, and a scary one for you. Hope you didn't eat too much candy. And I hope you understand that when somebody's cold, if we take the genuine approach, we can warm them up. But a lot of people don't want to spend the time with that. We'll talk more about this tomorrow. I do want to thank you so much for popping in. It is always a great privilege, a pleasure, and honor to be with you. And I hope that you guys will definitely check out more of my great content at believemeachieve.com. Remember to click on that link. Help keep our content free. Make the choice to buy my team and a cup of coffee, a bowl of fruit, or a scrumptious plate of desserts. Either way, we'll be grateful for those pennies and dollars. We'll invest into new hardware, new technology, new equipment, new software, even new facilities, to give you the most jaw-dropping, motivational content to empower you to have an amazing life. And I know that's something that you definitely care about. All right, guys, have yourself a good one, and I'll catch you.